You've got to go through the mud. I'm driving right now, so I'm just keeping the camera stable. You're not going to see me making eye contact because I'm trying to drive safely, you know what I mean? But, okay, you got to go through the mud. How many examples are there of people who have ever seen any level of real success without having to suffer and have a period of time where things were not going their way? I can't really think of many of those people. Of course, everybody always has these examples they come up with out of thin air. Whenever you say something like this, you know, someone always comes up with an excuse, or some guy that is just an absolute exception of the exceptions, like the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, to justify why they're not taking action and why they're not willing to do the things that it requires to succeed. You've got to go through the mud. The thumbnail of this picture, or of this video, I'm in the mud, man. It's representative because realistically, at this point in my life, I am in this building stage, in this planting and cultivating stage. I'm not reaping the harvest, you know. I can't say I'm making millions and billions of dollars right now, you know, but every action that I'm taking, maybe not every action, but I am taking actions every single day that are getting me to the next place. And you know what? It requires me to go through the mud and suffer a little bit and face real challenges. My challenges are not that great. You know, I'm driving a car. Yeah, it's a 20-year-old car, but it works great. It's mechanically sound. I got a motorcycle at home. My challenges are not that great. However, if I was to just sit and do nothing, I would face a reality of failure, of nothing, of being doomed to repeat Groundhog Day and never see what my real potential in life is. Absolutely, I can be immensely grateful for what I have, and I am, for my family, my friends, my communities, the abilities that I've built, that God has helped me build, the places that I've been able to go to. I can be absolutely grateful for that and still know that despite all of this, I could lose it all today if I don't keep up good habits, or if I choose to mess it up. And I've been at real low points before. I've been homeless. I've been dead broke. I've been in debt. Some people get in more debt than I did. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't in debt. I had to pay back like 10 grand in debt. High interest debt too. And I had to figure out how to get myself out of that. I had to learn and study ways that I could do that the most efficiently possible without having to pay too much interest. And in terms of the interest I actually paid, pretty darn minimal. On 10 grand, I paid like hundreds. And most of that was in balance transfer fees. Here's the thing. I would not recommend that path to anybody. I would not recommend going into debt and having to balance transfer and having to sort that all out. I would recommend building your foundation in the first place to never have to be to never have to be at that point. If I could go back and do it again, I would have invested my money. I would have not partied as much. I would have gone out more. I would have asked for more. And that's one of the biggest keys in all of this. If you want to get yourself out of the mud, you've got to ask. You've got to ask over and over and over and over. Not just of yourself, not just of God, but of others. You have to be willing to exit your zone of comfort, and you have to be willing to throw away your pride to be able to ask for ways out. I would have never, ever gone on tour. I would have never got my first gig. I would have never got my first student. I would have never got my degree or my real estate license. I would have never learned a thing about business if I didn't have to completely swallow my pride and ask for it, and then work daily basis, daily habits, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. And a beautiful thing happens when you ask. Because here's the thing. We're so afraid of rejection that, and the world knows that we're so afraid of rejection, to the point that when you actually do ask, when you swallow your pride and put yourself out there, your actual chances of rejection suddenly kind of go out the window. Suddenly, the more action you take, suddenly the more you ask genuinely, suddenly the more you drop your pride and your masks and everything that stops you from taking action, the second you go out there, no matter how nervous you are, no matter how scared you are, no matter how little confidence you have in your abilities and yourself and your looks and your strength and your posture, even if you are at zero in terms of your confidence, when you go out and you take this action, you get results. I can't say 100% of the time. Yeah, you still face some rejection. You might have to ask 5 times. You might have to ask 5 different people. You might have to ask 10 different people. You might have to ask 50 different people. But you will get what you are looking for. And that's where the saying comes in, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. Have you ever noticed that even the guy who goes around begging, I'm from San Francisco, so there's a lot of people who go around and they'll just come up to you and they'll ask you for something. They'll ask you for $5 or $10 or $20. You know, they'll ask you for something. They'll ask you for a meal. They'll ask you for whatever. Have you ever noticed that those people who have the confidence to do that, and it's not even necessarily confidence, yeah, in a lot of cases, they've dropped so much pride and they're in this place where they have no other option. But have you noticed that when they do that, you might not be the one who's giving them something. You might not have any cash. You might be too busy. You might be judgmental. But they get what they're asking for. They're going to get that $5 bill, that $10 bill, that $20 bill. And by the end of the day, a lot of times, these people will make more money than you or I. Why? Because they ask. They ask for it. I'm not telling you to go be homeless and go beg. Don't do that if you have the choice. Provide something to the world. Bring value to the marketplace. I'm not saying these people don't, because they're in desperate situations and they don't see another way out, and they have to do this. It's part of their story. But if you're not in that position where you literally have no choice but to beg, then you have other options. You simply need to go through the mud. You simply need to ask for what you want. You want a gig? Go to a jam session. Ask for the band leader's number or their Instagram. Get the contact information of literally every single person there. You want a job? Go into every single business you see and ask if they're hiring. Ask if you can speak to the HR department, the hiring department, the manager, whatever it might be. You want a loan? Go to the bank, ask for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, all you have to do is ask continually and back it up with your actions over time. Obviously, if you do not display the traits required, or you do not take the actions required to deserve what you're asking for, your chances of getting it are going to be drastically lower. If people can sense you have an ulterior motive, or that you're not going to actually do what you say you're going to do, well, you probably won't get hired for that job. You probably won't get those $20 on the street. You probably won't get that gig. But if you approach it and you drop your pride and you're genuine and you're honest and you present yourself as the person you are, you will eventually get what you ask for and what you work towards. But you have to go through the mud. It's scary to talk to people. I know, it's scary to go up to somebody on the street and just ask them what they're doing or what they do for a living, or tell them they're pretty or something. It's scary, but when you do it, you're almost always rewarded. Almost always. I can think of very, very few situations in my life where I was not rewarded for taking action like this. Look, taking action and going towards your dreams, it's not as complicated as people make it seem. Nowhere near it. But if you listen to too many people, or you take the wrong guidance, or you pick the wrong mentors, it will be a very difficult road for you. That's why I have my programs. I will never claim to have all the answers or be the only person who knows how to get you to your goals. And that's why I bring on my team. I pass down lessons from my mentors, and I share with you who I'm currently learning from when you're part of my programs. You have access to every single tidbit of information I have, whether that's business, marketing, finance, music, of course, drums, social media strategy, all of these things that it takes to actually get you from the mud and get you out of it. You have access to it unlimited in my programs. And right now you can book a call for less than the price of a single lesson with any music teacher in the world, practically. And you'll get 30 minutes to just ask me whatever questions you have. And we'll put you on a path in 30 minutes where you won't have to question as much. And maybe there will be less mud in your way. The link is below, ProDrummerMethod.com. We'll talk soon.